Back in the saddle. Sunday Night Live, Week 7, presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please drink responsibly. Guys, wow. A incredible slate of games today. Bear with me as I promote and tweet out the link for everybody. For those of you watching, we appreciate you on YouTube, on Twitch, on Twitter, wherever it is that you're watching. Thank you for making Sunday Night Live a part of your Sunday viewing right after the game. So, wow. Okay, we just snorted 7 hours of commercial-free football. We are back in a big way. Tonight, we've got Steelers-Jets, and we've also got Game 6 of the NLCS, Mets versus Dodgers. All of us will be out to go enjoy those, go watch those. We're going to do a quick 30 here of football and get you ready for the week ahead. We're going to start in the obvious place. I was very excited for 2 games today. I thought that this week, we were talking about it on the show last week, that this week was stacked with some potential really good games, and most of them delivered. This last one, I think, Chiefs 49ers, which is still underway. We've got about a minute and some change left. 49ers about the KC one. I don't know what's going to happen there, but we'll all watch it together. I thought there was a couple exciting games. There's a good game tomorrow night. I think Bucks and Ravens is going to be fun. But we're going to start in the most obvious place, which was undefeated Minnesota versus the Lions, who I said last week were a buzzsaw team, right? Just incredible on offense. Defensively, I know they lost Aiden Hutchinson, but they're in the mix. And that game did not disappoint whatsoever. We had turnovers. We had touchdown returns. We had long plays. We had gritties. We had everything. Anything that you could have wanted, we had there. I was really excited for the chess match between probably the 2 best coordinators in the game right now. Defensively, Brian Flores his defense is playing the best out of any unit in the NFL right now. Offensively, Ben Johnson of the Lions is probably the #1 offensive coordinator on the planet right now. I don't think anybody's doing it better than Ben Johnson's doing it from a balanced perspective, playing complementary football with the running game. Jared Goff has been incredible. And I tweeted it at 10-Day Tony earlier today. I can admit when I'm wrong. Okay. Contrary to popular belief, I will admit when I'm wrong. And I was wrong about Jared Goff. Jared Goff has been elite. I'm moving him up a tier. Okay. I'm moving him up a tier from good enough to elite, because this season, into last season, right, when him and Ben Johnson really got things going last season, when they started opening up the offense, last season he was good enough to make it to the NFC Championship game, a couple plays away from making it to a Super Bowl. This year, I did him a disservice because he's in the elite category. He is that good. He's playing out of his mind right now. I'm going to read you guys a stat that I found that was sent to me. Okay, this is from the Lions. Okay, a little bit of numbers here, but bear with me. It's good enough. In any 4-game span in NFL history, Lions QB Jared Goff is the only player to complete 80% or more of his passes and post a passer rating of 140 or more. So 80% clip passing the ball, 140 or more on passer rating. Each of the last 4 games, he's posted at least 2 passing touchdowns and a 72% completion rate and 110 or more passer rating. So 2 touchdowns in each of his last 4 games, 72% completion percentage in those 4 games, and a passer rating of 110. I'm old enough. I know everybody in the chat is. Shout out to the chat. Thank you for everybody hanging out with us. I'm old enough to remember when Jared Goff was a bust. When Jared Goff was, this was a wasted pick. This guy is going nowhere. Enter Sean McVay. He gets them to a Super Bowl. And then it's like, all right, all the weapons around him. It was Todd Gurley. It was McVay. It was like, nothing is Jared Goff. The trade happens. Stafford gets sent over to LA. They win a Super Bowl. It's like, see, I told you, all we needed to do is get rid of Goff. And now you look at what the Lions have been building behind Dan Campbell, between Ben Johnson, between all these guys, Jared Goff included. They've surrounded him with weapons that are pluses to what he does. Great. Which is throwing the ball into the middle of the field. He's a great passer to the middle of the field beyond the sticks. You talk about when Sam Laporta wants to play or they want to scheme him in, he's great at getting the tight end involved in the middle. Amon-Ra St. Brown, just PPR god, catches the ball anywhere. Jameson Williams, who I didn't see any big plays from today, whatever. Khalifa, like they've got these weapons, they've got these players that fit so well into the culture of what they're doing and fit so well to help Jared Goff be the best that he can be, where it was, I think, into the second quarter, we were like, oh, wait a second. Again, Jared Goff just is 12 for 12. And it's like, you look around and you're like, oh yeah, he hasn't incompleted a pass. Huh. Okay. Jeremiah W with a good comment in the chat. Goff has the same resume as Burrow in LA. Both made it to a Super Bowl. Both got beat. Not a bad compare. I like, not that it's a bad comparison, but I like where the trajectory of the careers, how we talk about Burrow in such a shining light, right? Because he's this incredible player and he's got weapons and he plays a fun brand of football. And then we look over at Jared Goff and you're like, wait a second, Lions are really fun offensively. Jahmyr Gibbs put a move on somebody in the open field today for a touchdown that was disgusting. We were talking about moving full speed, hit him with a 1-2, and the defensive player just only this. Didn't move. Safety just froze. Didn't move. Jahmyr Gibbs running full speed, hit him with the and he was gone. Wow, Anthony AO from the couch had more yards than Jameson Williams today. I had 0. He had -4. You know, AO, if you could run like Jameson Williams, I'd be talking about you here on this show. But, you know, we weren't all blessed with that speed. At a certain point, people are going to have to, I think people are starting to take the Minnesota Vikings seriously. And we know the Lions are taken seriously. Aiden Hutchins, I think there was a report saying, I think it was Rap Sheet that said, if the Lions make the Super Bowl, Aiden Hutchinson can return for the Super Bowl. So we're talking about what, February? We're October, November, December, January. We're talking about almost 5 months away from him being ready enough to play. So we give all these kudos and all these flowers to the Lions because we've kind of seen him do it before. They did went to the NFC Championship, whatever. Minnesota, on the other hand, we're looking at and we're like, what do we do here? Because do we fully trust? We trust the defense, okay, because they've shut down some legit quarterbacks. They've played really well against some legit teams. We're undefeated coming into this weekend, obviously. The question is the quarterback. Sam Darnold today proved to me he's good enough. He's good enough to take this team into the playoffs. I'm going to look at his stats because I don't have them off the top of my head here. Let's see. 22 of 27. Had that pick. 259, a touchdown. Got sacked 4 times. Made a lot of plays with his legs. Ran for 40 yards. Jefferson, 7 for 81 and a touchdown. Every time there was a big play to be made, Sam Darnold made the play. When it was third down and he needed to scramble and get a first down with his legs, he did it. Big plays. I think they were backed up into their own end zone late in that game, and he throws a 51-yard bomb to Jordan Addison over the top. It's like, who is this guy? This is not the Sam Darnold of old. This is not the Sam Darnold that we grew up watching. This is Sam Darnold that is making plays. And I'm trying to think who we had on the show. Oh, I think it was it Gerald McCoy who said that Sam Darnold was good enough to do something, or I don't remember exactly what the quote was, but it's like, yeah, Sam Darnold's turning the corner and he's playing really good ball. That game was fun. That game was awesome. It's crazy that they're both in the same division, right? And then we're going to flip to the other game that I was really excited about, Packers and Texans. The Packers are also in that division. And the Bears, who would play in decent football, are also in that division. We told you last week, best division in football, NFC North right now, and it's proven it because the offense is fun. Defenses are swarming. Brian Branch today for the Lions played out of his mind. And if it weren't for a fumble that the guy stepped out of bounds, he would have returned for a touchdown. He had a pick, return fumble for a touchdown. He had deflections. He was all over the place. Brian Branch, probably winner of the day for me as far as defensive player of the day, because he was everywhere. That was an awesome game. It's going to be a long season in the NFC North. There's going to be a lot of fun matchups between Lions, Packers, Bears, Vikings. I'm really excited to see how this goes. But flipping over to Lambeau, Packers and Texans. Texans, another one of my buzzsaw teams. CJ Stroud didn't play out of this world. It was a run the ball game. Mixon, who's been a godsend for this team, to be honest. When Mixon left Cincinnati and went over to the Texans, I was like, I wonder if that is going to shift the power balance as far as teams that are on the outside looking into the Chiefs. Because Mixon is a tough-ass runner. As you can see, still has plenty of gas in the tank. And I thought that that's one thing that Burrow needed specifically to be able to play the kind of football that they wanted to play in Cincinnati, which is bait safeties, bait the defense into having to put more guys in the box. That way you can protect against Joe Mixon busting loose. And then that way you get Chase Higgins over the top, right? Like that was it. That was kind of the core of that offense. Play action, let Burrow air it out after the defense is kind of drawn in. When that moved over to Houston, and I was like, all right, if Mixon still has what we think he has in the tank, and he's proving it this year, that's going to be a big weapon for CJ Stroud on the days he doesn't have it. Or on the days that the defensive scheme is, we're going to let Joe Mixon run as much. We're going to let Joe Mixon beat us, essentially, right? It's the old, hoops adage, like, we're going to let Kobe beat us. He's going to have to score 81 points, but he's going to be the one shooting. And if he beats us on a great night, okay, he beats us, but we're not going to let everybody else beat us. And it almost seems like teams are daring, all right, Mixon, go. And I know he's been hurt the last couple of weeks, but it's like, Mixon, go. Like, if you run for 120 yards and 2 touchdowns and we beat you by 14, okay, no biggie. Seems like the Packers were very good at scheming against Stroud. At a certain point, I was looking at Stroud's numbers, and we were into the third quarter, and we're talking about 75 yards. Completion percentage was just non-existent. Another reason Nico Collins isn't there, probably one of the best wide receivers in the league at the moment. Him being hurt has hurt that offense, because we saw it last year. Stephon Diggs was phased out of the offense in Buffalo, whether that be for his relationship with Josh Allen, whether that be for he wasn't as efficient and as effective as a number one towards the tail end of that season. Who's to say? We know Tank Dell, a great weapon when you scheme him touches, was catchless today. I think on 4 targets, he had 0 catches on 4 targets. Not good, right? So they basically said run the ball. Jordan Love on the other side of the ball. There's a reason why I had him in the Patrick Mahomes tier, right? What we saw today. Yeah, he had a couple picks, but dude makes throws that you sit back and go, how did he do that? Where did that ball come from? How did he get so much spin on that? The throw that he had to Tucker Kraft was an absolute laser beam to Tucker Kraft for a touchdown. And it looked like, I was watching, I was like, did he just throw that? Jordan Love, and we talk about their weapons, right? They've got a bunch of guys who are good, young guys. There's no real alpha number one wide receiver. Everybody gets the love on any given day. Dontavian Wicks, who was iced out of the offense last weekend, caught a touchdown this weekend. Romeo Doubs played well. Christian Watson, didn't even see him. Jaden Reed, kind of a pedestrian game. Didn't really had a big catch. I think he dropped. But Josh Jacobs was kind of the start today for that Packers offense. They win it late. I told a couple people, and I think I might have said it on the show earlier this week. This could be a little bit of a Super Bowl preview. Keep an eye out for Texans Packers. I know the Chiefs are playing well. I know there's two teams that are better possibly in their own division than the Packers, but something tells me like that's a team. Those are two teams that I kind of want to keep an eye on because those quarterbacks, the weapons they have, the defense, like that's something that can start gaining momentum towards the end of the season and being pretty good. There's guys, we're 15 minutes in and we've talked about two games. All right, I need to speed it up. That's on me. We've had so much happen today, but I had so much on my mind between those two games, Lions, Vikings, and Texans, Packers. We'll fly through some of the other ones. We had. Let's start from the London game. We'll go rapid fire, and then we'll take some questions from the chat after. I want to get you guys out before 8:00 so you can get at your setup ready. We got Mets Dodgers. We got Russ making his debut. We got Devontae Adams tonight. Exciting night of sports, and we're gonna go watch it together. So we'll go rapid fire, then we'll go questions, and we'll wrap it. All right. So London game. Jags finally get off the snide against the Patriots. I'll say this. Drake May showed me something. Yes, and a loss. But you know what? I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued with Drake May. Jaguars, I mean, we know what the deal is with the Jaguars. They're going to get lucky against bad teams. BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., I think is awesome. I think he's going to be a great wide receiver. Tank Bigsby ran like hell today. Trevor Lawrence, just we know what he is, man. We know what he is. He's a quarterback with tremendous faults that once in a while can make something happen where you're like, huh, okay, that was nice. Once in a while can maybe make a wild card game, but that division is signed, sealed, and delivered for the next 10 years. It's over. Houston's going to win. We're going to see like a Tom Brady-esque run in the AFC South with CJ Stroud because we saw Richardson today against the Dolphins, which we'll get to in a little bit. We know, obviously, we know the Titans have nothing, and we know what Trevor Lawrence is. Just a guy, just a good player. He's a good guy, good quarterback, but he's not going to be. Yeah, you know what? I need to find the Sambocelli candle. In the new setup here, I don't have shelves, so I can't have the Sambocelli lit up. I got to find out where it is. Next week I'll bring it to Sunday Night Live so we can have it. I'll put it right here on my windowsill. So that game, whatever, we'll skip it. Bills dragged the Titans. I think it was Mason Rudolph. Did Mason Rudolph start for the Titans today? Oh God. Yeah, it was Mason Rudolph. The Titans, I feel bad, man. Like they're a team. They're a team. 34-10. Bills roll. Amari Cooper had basically no idea about the offense. Caught a touchdown pass. Keon Coleman starting to figure it out a little bit. He caught a long ball. Josh Allen, another great game. I think he had 325 and a couple of scores. Let's see. 323 and a couple of scores. I think he still hasn't thrown an interception. Is that right, chat? Yeah, 12-0. He's got 1,400 yards, 12 touchdowns, 0 picks. I would have bet all of the money in my account, in every account I have, that through the first 7 weeks, Josh Allen would have thrown a pick. It's 12-0 right now. 12 touchdowns, 0 picks. Good for him. Bills roll. With that Amari Cooper trade, now him on that side as their kind of go-to one once he starts developing into that offense. I don't want to say intrigued, but I'm excited for what they're going to be because we've seen them play some of the top tier players or teams, in that conference. Haven't really measured up. Does Amari Cooper put them over the hill for teams like Baltimore? For teams like Kansas City? For teams like Houston? Maybe. We'll see. Eagles, Giants, Saquon with a massive revenge game. 176 yards on the ground. I think it was the second most yards for a player against his former team. I think I saw that stat. Tabasco 24 says, "Dude, are the Eagles good?" No, I think the Giants are not good. I think the Giants are bad. Through the first quarter, I think there was like 8 sacks. I think four apiece on those defensive lines. Offensive lines, not good. Mailata out for Philly. That's a big blow to them. But as long as they can run and control the ball, your defensive line played really well for Philly, was able to get to Daniel Jones at will. Whenever Daniel Jones dropped back, it was like there was 3 Eagles attached to his legs that didn't let him do anything. So if the Eagles could play the Giants every week, yeah, the Eagles would be a great team. I still have my reservations when it comes to teams that have more than one weapon, right? We know Malik Neighbors. I think he was 4 for 40 or something. They probably keyed in big time on Malik Neighbors to stop him. But when a team has multiple weapons and multiple ways to beat you, I think that's where the Eagles struggle because they can't just pin their ears back and send the defensive line out and be like, all right, go get the quarterback, meet at the quarterback. We'll take care of the one guy they have outside, and we'll make it happen. Saquon played awesome. He's having a great season so far through 7 games. He's just kicking ass and taking names. A.J. Brown, one of my favorite receivers, just a guy who feels like he's always open. And Jalen Hurts, look, it was a running game today. He had a pair of scores, but they just got whatever they wanted through the ground. So Hurts didn't really have to do anything as far as spreading the ball outside of that long touchdown he had to A.J. Brown. But Eagles, if they can stay afloat, if they can stay in the 10-7, 11-6, find a way to beat Dallas, find a way to beat the Commies, like split the season series between those two and get some wins where they're beating teams they need to beat, they can be a team that can sneak into the playoffs and maybe give somebody a hard time in that first round. But they need to stay afloat, especially as they're still trying to get back healthy. Devontae Smith back in, A.J. Brown, they were both out for a while. They need to get Jordan Mailata back in and protect Hurts and protect Barkley because that's their 1-2 punch is great there as far as running the ground. Seahawks, Falcons. Seahawks go in and walk into your trap and take your trap from the boy, from Kirk. Geno leads the league in passing yards. I'm very surprised by that. Just because there's a lot of really good quarterbacks and they are throwing the ball in Seattle, which is fun, man. That's what we want from football. We want Geno to have 125 yards in the first half. We want him to have 200 yards in the first half. Like that's what makes football fun. We want Kenneth Walker going on a wheel route and Geno throwing it up and him catching it like a wide receiver. Like that is fun. So DK Metcalf, after a good game, I think he had almost 100 yards and a touchdown. He got carted off with potentially an MCL injury. That's when you hear the cart came out, we think of worst case scenario, right? We think of Rashee Rice. We think of what happened to a specific someone that we'll get to in a little bit. We think of the worst case scenario, but sometimes they just don't feel like exacerbating the injury and walking it towards a locker room or whatever. They put them on the cart, but DK carted off. We're hoping it's not anything serious because that is a fun team out west. And the Falcons are in an interesting spot because they're not the best team in their own division, and they're going to have to fight like hell to get into the playoffs because the Bucs are a legit team. The Bucs are a legit team, can run the ball, can pass the ball. Baker is playing great. We just got some news here. Breaking. The NFL news, it never stops, Dano. Kyle Shanahan says they're worried about Brandon Ayuk. They think he injured his ACL. ACL for Brandon Ayuk, which is tough because they're already thin at some of those skill position players. Debo was sick today. He didn't play. Ayuk, it looked like he hyperextended. It looked not good. We know Kittle's in and out of the lineup too. Jawan Jennings was out today. So that's a big blow for a team that severely needs pass catchers for Brock Purdy, who played not so great today. 3 picks, but we'll get to that game in a little bit. Bengals Browns. This one was kind of over before it started. Apropos, the Bengals scored a touchdown in the first 4 seconds of the game by returning the kickoff, and it just never really felt closer, even though the Browns cut it to a 7-point deficit with, what was it, a minute and some change left to go. But the biggest news of the day from that game is DeShaun Watson, much maligned quarterback, on the field for his play, who's been terrible, the worst quarterback from a numbers perspective of all 32 teams. Terrible stretching the field, terrible on third down, terrible decision-making, terrible arm speed. Everything was just bad. And he goes to, I think, run a QB draw is what they had called. And he took that one step. And we were kind of on the zoomed out view from the skybox. So we're watching him take that one step. We see him kind of go down. And I was like, oh, did he slip? And then immediately I see him reach down for his lower calf Achilles area. And it was like, ooh, that's not good. Then they played the spider cam from behind, and you see that Achilles go and tear, and it was like, see ya. We may have just seen the last of DeShaun Watson in a Cleveland Browns uniform. We may have just seen it right there. That might be his last play in the NFL. I know he's due a ton of money. I know it's going to kill him against the cap. I think next year there's a bit of alleviation when it comes to some of his cap hit numbers if they were able to trade him or cut him or do something. I think I read something about that. But we may have just seen the last play of DeShaun Watson's career, a career that there's a definitive mark line in the sand of pre-news and post-news DeShaun Watson, where he was an excellent quarterback on the verge of a potential Hall of Fame career, MVP, potential Super Bowl winner, and just everything changed after the allegations, after everything came out. And on the other side of that, a quarterback who looks like the heaviness and the weight of all the things that were happening outside of the locker room, that were happening off the field, seemed to have caught up to him in such a powerful way that it derailed his career. Like we were looking at a guy who didn't have a serious injury. I know he had the shoulder injury. I want to say he had a knee injury earlier on in his career, if I'm remembering correctly, but it wasn't like an injury like an Achilles where there was, all right, the Achilles happened and then DeShaun Watson was really never the same guy, or he had the shoulder injury and his fastball's gone. He can't really make the throws like he used to. That wasn't really the case, right? It was, he had injuries just like everybody has injuries, but it seems like there was such a aging of DeShaun Watson through the allegations and all the stuff that led up to him being traded or sent over to Houston, from Houston to Cleveland, getting that monster deal, and then having to live up to the expectations of a $230 million guaranteed deal when you have all of this. Just, I can't even measure it, the amount of baggage that he has, right? We've never seen somebody be from potential Hall of Famer, all-time great quarterback, to what we're witnessing right now, which is possibly the last time we see him on an NFL field. It's insane. And I never root for injury. I never like to see people getting hurt, especially with Achilles injuries, because they just look terrible and everybody kind of knows it. Regardless of who it is, you see the person on the cart, they're crying. They know the anguish of that injury because it's just such a bad one to come back from, especially in the NFL. I never root for anybody to have injuries or anything, but it's like, how did we think this was going to end? Did we think it was just going to be him riding off into the sunset, kind of like, I won, right? We knew he wasn't going to be a good quarterback again. We knew that. It just feels like if you were writing a script, a movie script, would you write it with DeShaun Watson tearing his Achilles and possibly never playing again? Like, it's an interesting way for him to go out of this season and potentially his career. And we spent far too much time talking about DeShaun Watson, a player on a team that's not that good. Positive note from that game. Happy note from that game. Nick Chubb, after a devastating knee injury last year, rehabbed, kicked ass, came back, scored a touchdown, played well for his first game back. Of course, we had the injury to DeShaun Watson. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, DTR, came in, played, as DTR is going to play. There's going to be some balls that sail. There's going to be some interceptions. He's going to run. He's going to be a fun brand of football for a little bit. Jameis came in through a touchdown to David Njoku, but props to Nick Chubb for getting out there, fighting and beating his demons once again to get out and make it back to the NFL and score a touchdown. Dolphins, Colts, guys. What am I going to say about the Dolphins? Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle had 0 receptions through the first half. Jonnu Smith, go FIU, go Panthers. Was the lifeblood of the offense today. I think he had 92 yards and a touchdown. But this offense, this team is anemic. This team is just nothing. They're the Raiders. They're the Panthers. Snoop Hundley got hurt. They brought in Tim Boyle. There's really not much to say. There's not much to say. Anthony Richardson on the other side, work in progress. That's why the jury's still out on Anthony Richardson, because he has flashes of brilliance where he can throw the ball really well. And then there's times where he's going 9 for 28. And you're like, ooh, this looks very bad. This is not what we thought it was going to be whatsoever. I think we had a different expectation of Anthony Richardson coming in, that he was going to be like Cam Newton, where he's going to have this rocket arm and just be able to be accurate and efficient. And he's none of those things. He is not accurate nor efficient. A good runner, great arm, but maybe the best arm in football. But if you don't have the things that are important, like accuracy, like efficiency, like command of the offense and command of where the ball's going, it's going to be a tough time for you in the NFL. So Dolphins, they said Tua's going to be back next week. I'm going to be interested to see how different the offense is going to look with Tua back at the helm versus the gang of guys they've been having to play quarterback. But McDaniels is fun when you're winning, and it is deeply, deeply, deeply depressing when you're losing. So we'll see next week. Hopefully Tua comes back, plays well. He gets back into the motion and back in the swing of things and stays healthy. Because that's a fun team. When their offense is going great, that's a fun team to watch. A game that was... So me and my wife were sitting on the couch. She was getting a massage here at the house, a nice little prenatal massage. And she finishes it. She walks over to me on the couch. I'm watching the 4:00 games. I've got my 2 TV set up. I'm watching the red zone on the big screen. And then on the smaller screen up top, I'm watching 49ers and Chiefs. And they're just going back and forth to Rams, Raiders, and Panthers, Commies. And she looks at me, she's like, these games are boring. She's like, you have to talk about these games? And I'm like, not really. I could talk Lions and Vikings for like 20 minutes, but I don't have to talk anything about these games. We'll talk 30 seconds. All right, right now, started 30 seconds of Panthers and Commies. Panthers are a depressing franchise. The team is terrible. Canales, does he have the wherewithal? We don't know. Andy Dalton as your Lord and Savior, we know that he's mad that he's not the answer. Canales said he's going to stick with Andy Dalton. Good riddance. Good luck. Panthers, we'll see you guys next year when we try again. Deontay Johnson on the trading block, probably. Their team just has nothing. Flip side, Commanders started out hot, got the defensive touchdown. Jaden Daniels gets hurt, and I want to say it was on one of his runs where he kind of like landed a little awkwardly on his ribs, and he had a couple plays where he would like kind of fidget with it. he had that run at the goal line where it really kind of affected him, and you saw him go like that. That's when he went out to the sideline, blue tent, into the locker room. But I feel like the commies kind of knew, hey, this is not going to be a close game. Mariota can go in and be good enough to beat a terrible Panthers team that just defensively just is nothing, just a high school football team. I want to say they kept Jaden out for good reason. There's no reason to put your star quarterback, the face of the franchise, out again into harm's way when he's already got a little bit of maybe a rib or maybe a bruised rib or something. Keep him out. Live to fight another day. We got a fun one next week. Bears and Commanders. Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels is going to be fun. Hopefully he's back and healthy for that one. But that was just a game. Just a nothing game. Another nothing game that ended up being a little closer than we anticipated. Rams, Raiders. Kyron Williams, good story, fun story. I think he's got 9 straight games with a touchdown. They desperately need Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back because the offense is just stalled. They don't have anything. I was looking at the stats for Kyron Williams, and he's got 70 some odd percentage of his team's rushing yards, which is number one. He's got 78% of some sort of touches. I don't remember if it was manufactured touches or touches from the backfield or whatever. Number one. And 70 some odd percent of yards from scrimmage. He's also number one in. So it's like they are very one-dimensional when it comes to their offense. So they need those guys back. Rams win 20-15 over a Raider team that maybe Shedeur Sanders next year. Shedeur and Brock. I'll say this. Brock Bowers is the one shining spot from that Raider team. He's really good. He's really good. From a blocking perspective, from a reception and vertical perspective, he's an awesome tight end. Awesome. And we'll touch before we get you guys out here in the next 3 minutes. Chiefs 49ers. Chiefs, the lone unbeaten team in the NFL. We have Minnesota going into today, and we had Kansas City going into today. Minnesota goes down. Chiefs win. An ugly game from San Francisco. Debo wasn't really there. Was sick. We don't really know the extent of what his illness was, but got sick. Didn't really play. We know Brandon Ayuk hurt his knee. They're saying Shanahan's fearing an ACL, but all in all, Brock Purdy didn't have a great day. They were able to run on the ground a little bit, but the defensive pressure that Spags and the Kansas City Chiefs were bringing was strong. And Brock didn't really have a lot of time to throw. He's great at getting out of the pocket and trying to make plays happen with his feet, which he was able to do a little bit. He scored a touchdown on a quick little goal line run. But the offense looks, I don't want to say constipated because they're still getting some decent-sized plays and chunk plays, but it's not the same offense that we've been seeing in years past with Christian McCaffrey. Obviously, Jordan Mason, a good stand-in, a good fill-in. He's had a really good season as far as yards per carry, as far as his total yardage from a running perspective. But this offense just doesn't look the same. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what we can point to. Brock has been good. I think he leads second in the NFL in passing yards. Ayuk held out and got that deal and wasn't really that good. Now potentially out for the rest of the season with an ACL. The story is, how do the Chiefs continue to do this? That's what I want to know. That's what you want to know. Everybody wants to know. How in the hell do the Chiefs lose their number one running back, lose a wide receiver in camp that was going to help them tremendously in Hollywood Brown? He doesn't even make it to the year. He's out. Lose their best wide receiver, who was a target monster and an absolute stud in Rashee Rice, who gets hurt on a friendly fire with Patrick Mahomes. You have Travis Kelce, who's washed, who just does not have it anymore. You bring back Kareem Hunt, and he's the focal point of your offense. I get it. Patrick Mahomes is incredible. He didn't play great either. He's got 8 picks this season. Like, he makes the thing about Mahomes that sometimes doesn't show up in the stat sheet is he has about 2 or 3 plays a game, maybe 3 or 4. He's got 3 or 4 plays a game that if it weren't for him, this team would not be 6-0. If it weren't for him making that extra dive for a first down or that one throw that gets you a big time third down conversion, or the play breaks down, he uses his legs and he's got a 15-yard scamper but puts him in the field goal range, and then they kick a long field goal and then they go up, and like he makes winning plays. And that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. So if I tell you Mahomes is, because I want to be correct and up to date. If I tell you that Patrick Mahomes is, let's see, after this game, didn't throw a touchdown pass. So if I told you he's got 6 touchdown passes and 8 interceptions, but they're 6-0, you would tell me, I don't know how to explain that. And there's a lot of people and a lot of very, very, very intelligent football people that are still thinking, how in the hell is he doing this? Because he's not statistically playing well. And I get it, they're 6-0. I get it, their defense is playing well. I get it, they're being able to run the ball a little bit better with Kareem Hunt than they were prior. But it's almost like an aberration. It's almost like it's a riddle. The quarterback isn't playing well. QB wins are not a QB stat, right? We've had smart football people tell us that all the time. Yes, they're 6-0, but nobody's playing well except the defense. And it's like, you can be as creative as you want on offense. You can have Carson Wentz in the backfield like they did today with Mahomes and run all these trick plays and stuff. And it's like, they just keep winning. They just keep winning. And that's why I feel like it's a bit of house of cards, because it's like, at what point does Mahomes not playing Mahomes level bite you in the ass? Is it we saw them beat Baltimore? Actually, really quick, I want to take a look at their schedule going forward and see who they have to play. All right, we got a couple good tests here. They play the Bucs in a couple weeks. First weekend of November, they play the Bucs. That'll be a good test. They play the Bills on the 17th of November. They play the Texans 12/21. They play the Steelers on Christmas Day. That's on Netflix, by the way, huh? Interesting. But mixed in, they play the Panthers. They play their divisional games: Raiders, Chiefs, Chargers. They play the Browns. Like, we're looking at a team that hasn't been tested really, and they could walk in and just be 13-4. And we're like, Mahomes went 22 touchdowns, 17 picks, and everybody's like, well, whatever. On to the playoffs. And then Kelsey's going to have 500-yard games, and all of a sudden the miracle of modern medicine, Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown are going to be out there, or they're going to make a trade. DeAndre Hopkins ends up showing up when they trade him from Tennessee to Kansas City or something, and they're going to be like, oh, look, they did it. There's no team to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. They're aiming to do that, and I don't know how, because everything they're doing seems like a mirage. So that's the NFL slate for Sunday. What is it? 10/20, October 20th, Sunday. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming up this week on the LeBatard Show. We've got Sunday Night Football tonight. Jets, Steelers. Yeah, thank you. Don't blink. I'm intrigued to see how Russell plays, because Justin Fields, even though not playing well, had them playing winning football. Russell better hope and pray that they win, because if they go and lose to the Jets after the tumultuous season the Jets have been having so far, there's going to be a lot of calls for Justin Fields to come back from the Pittsburgh faithful. But we've got that. We've got some baseball tonight. Dodgers and Mets for Game 6 in the NLCS. We'll see if we're going to have Dodgers versus Yankees in the World Series, which would be awesome, or a little Subway Series, which I don't know which I'd like more, but I'm excited for both. I do get into World Series baseball. I'll be keeping eyes on on all those games. But good one tonight in the NFL. A couple good ones tomorrow. Bucks Ravens is going to be a very fun game. I appreciate everybody who hung out for the past 40 some odd minutes of Sunday Night Live. Remember, Sunday Night Live is presented by Smirnoff, the world's #1 vodka. Please enjoy responsibly. All right, what else? That's it. Any housekeeping? TD, we're good. We appreciate you guys. We love you guys. We'll see you guys next week, hopefully with a special guest. Charles McDonald was supposed to be here today, ended up getting caught up with some stuff. Hopefully he'll be here next week as we do week 8 of the NFL. I can't believe we're basically almost halfway there, ladies and gentlemen. So let's see. Tomorrow we're back on the grind. Dan Le Batard Show and all of your Le Batard podcast varieties will be available tomorrow. Peace. We love you guys.